There you go. Can everybody take a breath? Just let go of whatever you've been carrying with you in the week that you just want to let go. And since the talk is about kindness, I'm going to encourage you to find ways to be kind to yourself. So some of what I'm going to be doing is asking you guys to do a lot more of the talking because of this. I don't have a sore throat. I'm not contagious. It's just, I don't know what's going on here. So if you haven't been into the one-seater bathroom around the corner, you may not know that there's a print that says, be the reason somebody smiles today. So think about that. Is there someone in your life that is the reason that you smile today? And have you been that for other people? I encourage you to do that, even something really simple, because I think that's the essence of kindness, is to find a way to bring some light into other people's lives. And what I've always believed is that kindness costs nothing. Generosity is free as the wind. So think about the things that have happened in your life where people have been kind to you. It doesn't have to have a monetary value. It's just a personal value for you. And for those of you, I don't know if you can see it on screen, but there's a t-shirt here that I bought when I was in Pittsburgh, right after I did my TEDx talk on the way back from Ohio. My friend Barb and I stopped in Pittsburgh and I said, two places we have to go. One is the John Hines Museum. It has the Fred Rogers exhibit. And the other is the Tree of Life Synagogue, where what year was it? 2018, 2017, a gunman killed 11 people. So we went there and said Kaddish, paid homage to the people that were there. But when we left as we were leaving the museum, we stopped in the gift shop and this followed me home. And it's a reminder of one of the kindest people that I wish I had interviewed. I never met Fred Rogers, but he's very much a model for how I'd like to be with people and to be fully present. If you haven't seen the movie, it's called Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. Yeah. If you have seen it, you may remember this scene in a Chinese restaurant where he's talking to the journalist who's really cynical, really angry, and really hurt. And he said, I want you to take a moment and think about all the people who have loved you into being. So that scene alone is worth watching the movie for if you haven't seen it. So I'm going to ask you to think about that. Who are the people in your life who have loved you into being? And who have you been that for? I don't know if you can still watch Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood rerun, but yes, it is on PBS still. But there is also Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood that my grandson loves. So it takes the best of what Fred taught in, for kiddies. So, but I love it too. So he is my guardian angel, role model, whatever you want to think of it as, for kindness. In our own community, we have a lot of people who practice kindness in big and small ways. And I'll call out some of the ones that do it in really big ways that you're all familiar with. Lisa Graham, whose company Empower Kids. They want to create a positive school culture where bullying is, so she's written a number of children's books. And she just got an award from the Seroptimist International as a woman of achievement. I don't remember the exact name of the award. We have Cass Forkin, Twilight Wish Foundation, whose work is helping to make the world a better place for seniors, one wish at a time. And a number of years ago, the community here was helpful. Annabella Wood, I don't know if she's on screen, but she helped to make a senior's wish come true it was a truck trip from the Dublin Diner to Florida with an 80-something-year-old woman who always wanted to be a truck driver. Now, she was not capable of doing it, but Annabella was a truck driver for 30 years. So she took, I think her name was Margaret, something like that, and she took her on this trip. So Annabella is someone that exhibits kindness. There's also Patricia Gallagher, who speaks here regularly. I think, did she do the Speaker Spark? No, she did the Seed a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, something like that. For those that don't know, Tricia She's known as the angel pin lady and the flower lady. So she would go to Trader Joe's and pick up day-old flowers, and she would deliver them to nursing homes and shelters and give them out to people on the street. And when Bob Goodwin was alive, he was one of her flower delivery buddies. And he did it, went into his late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
And Hannah-Laura and Bob, who are the founders of Circle of Miracles, did not just random and planned acts of kindness every day. And then Yvonne Kay, who's also known to the community. Yvonne is going to be 90 in September. She's still rocking it. She works with parents of murdered children. She works with folks in recovery from addiction. She works with veterans. She works with people at Gilda's Club, people living with cancer. So these people are my role models for kindness. And they're human. They're not sweet. These are not always sweetness and light people, believe me. But but they exude kindness. Back in March of last year, I met a woman named Joanne Petrin, who's part of the community in Doylestown. And Joanne has 3 children. And she had posted something on the Doylestown Facebook page asking businesses if they wanted to put cards in their locations that encourage people to do random acts of kindness. And when I saw that, I said, ooh, I want to be involved with this somehow. I'm not sure what it would look like. So Joanne and I teamed up and we connected with a friend of mine, Eric Labaz, who designed these beautiful cards that are on your chairs. So take this with you. And for those of you that are on screen, if you ever get to Circle, there's a bunch of them over there. Even if you don't have the card, you can go to our Facebook page. So it's Bucks County Kind. And you don't have to live in Bucks County. You don't even have to live in Pennsylvania. We have members all over the world now. And at this point, we're at almost 1,500 members. And we started out in April of last year with the 2 of us. And then it's grown. We got some media coverage. We are on the ABC News affiliate. It's been all over the place. And at this point, we probably have 100 or more places in Bucks and Montgomery counties that carry the cards. So if you know a business, or if you have a business that you want to put the cards out, let me know. And you can find me on Facebook, Edie Weinstein, or if you're part of the community, you know how to reach me anyway. So what I encourage you to do with this card is, and I have a bunch of extras here, carry some with you, hand them to somebody. I give them out when I'm in the supermarket checkout line. I'll give them out to the person there. When I go to the bank, if I go through the drive-through, after I make my deposit, I'll stick the card in for either the next person or the teller to have it. So I always carry a whole bunch of them with me. And if you can think of other places to do it, if I'm in a restaurant, I'll leave it there. At the gym, I'll leave it in the locker room, like on the seat. Because you never know who's going to pick it up, and you never know whose day you're going to make by giving them this. So I first heard about random acts of kindness as a result of reading. I don't know if I read the book or just saw something online about it. There's a woman named Ann Herbert who wrote a book called Practice Random Acts of Kindness. And you've heard the saying, practice random acts of kindness and senseless beauty, or senseless acts of beauty. And when I say senseless, some things don't make sense. We don't know why we're compelled to meet a certain person, talk to a certain person. Up until you met the people in your life, you may not even have known they were alive. They weren't on your radar screen until the day that you are. This woman sitting back here in the plaid shirt and I are coworkers. We didn't know we lived in the same development until a few months ago. So it is pretty amazing. Mm-hmm. And I got to meet her and her cat at her home with her cats. So that was pretty cool. I didn't know Circle existed until Peter Moses invited me here in 2001. How long has Circle been active?
I think 1995.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, so I jumped on board 6 years later, and it feels like home. And every time I come here, every time I speak here, excuse me, I connect with new people. And I encourage you to connect with people heart to heart, not just head to head, because we live in a world that is so fraught with conflict and disagreement and hatred and violence that it's hard to not absorb it. And it's hard to maintain your sanity in that kind of world. So what I found is that doing acts of kindness doesn't necessarily protect me from it, but it makes it easier to keep on keeping on. If I got that, up until the pandemic started, Mike had mentioned that I'm the founder of Hug Mobsters Armed with Love, and we do free hugs. And some weekends you could see me standing on the street corner of State and Main in Doylestown with my free hug sign. I haven't done it consistently since the pandemic started, but this year I'm going to be back out there. So beware. But the cool thing about these cards is that they substituted for that, because more people said yes to the cards. They didn't worry about getting sick. They didn't worry about, am I comfortable hugging or not comfortable? Nobody has said no to the cards. So that's a good thing. So again, you are welcome to take a bunch with you and spread them out into the world. So some of the benefits of kindness are probably some of the same benefits that you find by hugging. Witnessing kindness, witnessing acts of kindness gives you an uplift. Oxytocin is the feel-good, the cuddle hormone, that nursing mothers exude, and when you feel close to people. So it's not just doing the act of kindness, it's noticing somebody else doing it, and that's pretty cool. It also increases the serotonin. And there's, I don't have the studies written here, but there are studies that indicate that it's a mood stabilizer, but an antidepressant. When you're doing acts of kindness, when you're watching acts of kindness, you're less likely to feel depressed. And there are at least 2 therapists in the room besides me that can vouch for the fact that when your clients are involved and engaged in the world, when they're doing volunteer work, when they're part of a community, they're less likely to exhibit symptoms of depression. So I think that's a big part of it too. Think about how you feel when you do something nice for someone or when they do something nice for you. It affects our sense of satisfaction with our lives when we feel like we matter. One of the acts of kindness that I laugh about now at the beginning of the pandemic is that a friend of mine had contacted me and said, I'm going to the store. Do you need anything? And I said, yeah, toilet paper. And that was back when people were hoarding toilet paper. I said, yeah, I got a couple rolls left. So he did it. He went shopping. He did a drop and run. He just left things at my front door. 20 pack of toilet paper. I don't know where he went for it. I've never had that. I've never in my life owned that much toilet paper. But it was an extreme act of kindness that he did that. And obviously I didn't, it took me many months to go through that. I should have taken a picture of it, but it was very sweet. It also inspires kindness in others. So you see a lot of things online where people videotape themselves doing acts of kindness. I have mixed feelings about that, because especially if it's someone that's homeless or it's performative. It makes it, it kind of takes advantage of that person. So it's still possible to talk about nice things or kind things that you've done without victimizing or shining a light on someone as a victim. But when you do acts of kindness, you inspire others to do that. So Joanne and I talk about that. She got her leap into this came a few years ago when she and her children were at, I think it was Burrow Bagels in Doylestown, and they paid for someone's to-go order and didn't want the person to know. But of course, the cashier pointed Joanne out, and she felt good about her children witnessing her doing kind things because she wants them to do kind things. And that's how this whole thing got started. I have 2 grandchildren, and one of the things that I tell them all the time, Dean is a little more than 3, and Lucy just is 11 months. And I always tell them, instead of saying, be nice to each other, say, be kind. Like, don't take the toy away from her, or don't hit him, or don't hit her, or don't grab it, So I think if we instill in our children that kindness is more than a virtue, it's a way of life. That you don't have to think about, am I being kind? Am I being mean? It's just who you are. I grew up with I'm reading what somebody just posted something here, and I can't really see it, but I grew up being taught to be kind. Although that whole nice thing fit into it too. My mother used to say, if you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. That Bambi's mother, something that she was quoting. And I learned to keep my mouth shut. So I can be kind and still be direct. But they modeled volunteerism. They volunteered in our community in all kinds of ways. My dad was a volunteer firefighter. My mother volunteered in the hospital. They both volunteered at our synagogue, even into their probably late 70s, early 80s. After they moved down to Florida, they volunteered in a community there. And they weren't showy about it. They weren't, oh, look what we're doing. So, standing here, I'm not saying this to glorify me or anything that I'm doing. I'm encouraging you to take it and run with it. So I'm wondering what your experiences are. So what we normally do is the speaker speaks and then asks questions, but because of this, I'm again being kinder to myself. I'm going to ask anybody here or online what you've experienced about kindness, either being the recipient of, the witness to, or the offerer of kindness.